like yesterday, we used to rock the show. I laced the track, you locked the flow. So far from hanging on the block for dough. Notorious, they got to know that life ain't always what it seemed to be. Words can't express what you mean to me. Even though you're gone, we still a team. Through your family, I'll fulfill your dreams. In the future, can't wait to see if you open up the gates for me. Reminisce sometime, the night they took my friend. Try to black it out, but it plays again. When it's real, feeling's hard to conceal. Can't imagine all the pain I feel. Give anything to hear half your breath. I know you're still living your life after death.
Every step I take, every move I make, every single day, every time I pray, I'll be missing you. Thinking of the day when you went away. What a life to take, what a bond to break. I'll be missing you.
It's kinda hard with you not around. Know you in heaven smiling down, watching us while we pray for you. Every day we pray for you, till the day we meet again. In my heart is where I keep you, friend. Memories give me the strength I need to proceed, strength I need to believe. My thoughts big, I just can't define. Wish I could turn back the hands of time. Us in the six, shop for new clothes and kicks. You and me taking flicks, making hits, stages they receive you on. Still can't believe you're gone. Give anything to hear half your breath. I know you're still living your
Every
life
step
after death.
I take, every move I make. 'Tis well with my soul. Lord, hasten the day when our faith shall be sight. The clouds we will bow as a scroll. The trumpet shall sound, and the Lord shall descend. Even so, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. It is well. It is well with my soul. It is well.
This will be as informal a funeral service as you probably can. As you know, Neville was very informal, and I hope you'll uphold that tradition today. Let me begin by introducing the pastor of this church, Leon George, and have him share a few words with you.
Good afternoon, family, friends, and well wishers if you want to add that too. But good afternoon to everyone. First, we want to say welcome to Bridgeport Tabernacle of Seventh-day Adventists. We appreciate the fact that you saw it in your heart to have this service here, and we are happy to be the host of the program. We want to extend condolences as a church to Neville's family. We pray that the Lord is going to continue to keep you in this sad chapter of life. But we also continue to live with hope that one day we will see Neville again. For those who might be visiting this facility for the very first time, I know nature calls on some very unusual times. You don't have to put one finger in the air. You don't have to do that. You could just make your way out. For the men, you make your way downstairs and turn left, and the room furthest to the left will be the comfort room. For the ladies, you make your way downstairs, and in the middle aisle that comes all the way down the length of the church, the very first door on your left will be the ladies' comfort area. So you should be able to find that as nature calls. No need to put one finger in the air. You could just get up and walk out and be comforted. I know, including myself, just remember to silence the phones so that the proceedings will not be distracted as we go. I know we all remember at the wrong time sometimes, so we do understand. So just a reminder this time to not going to tell you turn it off because you might be one of the important people, and if you're an important person, you need to have your phone on, but just silence it so that we don't get in on your conversation. We'll appreciate that. As the brother said earlier, it's a very informal proceeding. It's a very informal service. So Don't expect someone to come up here and call on you. Now, if he chooses to do that, that'll be up to him. I'll leave that for the MC to decide. But it's a very informal service, and so we want things to be done decently and in order, even though it's informal. We wish that we all will conduct ourselves accordingly, knowing that we are in the house of the Lord. Welcome again, everyone, and may the Lord be with us as we proceed with the service this evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here to honor, remember, and celebrate Neville's life. You could have been anywhere else today, but you chose to be here with us. For that, my family is honored. Now, having said that, if you know Neville well, what would he have thought about us doing this in his honor? I heard nonsense, rubbish. Don't do it. But we're going to do it anyway. I'm going to use certain adjectives today to describe Neville. The first one being finicky. I think just about everybody in here remember Morris the cat in that TV commercial years ago. He was very finicky. He didn't just take any kind of food. He was particular. Neville was very much that way. And I looked up the word finicky, and it's described as this: very fussy, overly concerned with small, trivial details. But Neville wasn't finicky about everything. I remember on one occasion, he said, and by the way, if I forgot to mention, my name is Rollin Morris. I'm Neville's youngest brother. I'll share more about my family shortly. But Neville invited me over one day. He said, come on over, let's just hang out together. Help me clean out the garage. So I said, cool. Now, if you know Neville, if you've ever worked with Neville, he doesn't operate by any clock. Neville can work as long as the hands on the clock are spinning, Neville's working. But I told Neville, hey, I work by OSHA standards. We start at 8, come 10 o'clock, break. We go back to work, noon, lunch. We go back to work, 2 o'clock, break. And by 4:30, we're done. Now, Neville is working through all of that. I mean, he can work 24/7 without even thinking about it. So he invited me over. He said, let's eat, let's work together. So he started out with breakfast that day. He cooked up some eggs, some pancakes, good food. And he put the food on the table in front of me. And I looked on the plate. There were some black speckled marks on the plate. And I said, Nev, I said, are these dishes clean? He said, Rollin, they're as clean as cold water can get them. Go ahead and eat. So we ate, finished eating, did some work. Lunchtime came. Neville said, let me make some lunch for us. Made some burgers, some fries, good-looking food. Again, the plate was kind of greasy. I said, Nev, are these dishes clean? He said, Rollin, they're as clean as cold water can get them. We finished eating, went back to work, and pushing about 4:30 now, Neville said, I made a special dessert. I want you to have some before you leave. He brought out the dessert, and again, dishes. I said, Nev, are these dishes clean? He said, Rollin, they're as clean as cold water can get them. Finished eating dessert, and it was time to go. Neville and I were sitting down next to each other. He's sitting in a recliner. I said, Nev, I got to go. He stayed in the recliner, and I started to walk out the door. Neville had this old bulldog. He's sitting there by the door. Every time I try to leave, the dog would growl at me. I try to leave, the dog would growl at me. I said, Nev, why don't you do something about this dog? Neville didn't even get up. He said, cold water. Get out the way, boy. True story. If you know Neville, by birth he was of Jamaican ancestry. Listen to these words. I try to come up with so many ways to describe Neville. You all have made so many kind comments about him. Listen to these words, and then I'll talk about him afterwards. Before God and all mankind, I pledge the love and loyalty of my heart, the wisdom and courage of my mind, the strength and vigor of my body in the service of my fellow citizens. I promise to stand up for justice, brotherhood, peace, to work diligently, creatively, to think generously and honestly, so that Jamaica may, under God, increase in beauty, fellowship, and prosperity, and play her part in advancing the welfare of the whole human race. That's Neville summed up in 2 paragraphs. That's the Jamaica National Pledge. As I read it, I thought, that's Neville. And we've provided a copy of that pledge for you because I couldn't think of a better way to describe his character, who Neville is. Neville was a unique individual, but he was always about others, putting himself last. Everybody else first, Neville last. I remember on one occasion, Neville was in the grocery store. And as he's walking around the grocery store, a little old lady kept on following him. Every aisle he went on, this little old lady appeared on that aisle. She just kept following him around the store. As he went up to the checkout lane, the old lady, she cut right in front of him. And then she turned around and she said, "Hey, I know you've seen me watching you around the store." She said, "The reason I was doing that is because you look just like my son who recently passed." Neville said, "No problem." Being Neville. She said, "Would you do me one small favor? As I walk out the store, would you just wave to me and say, 'Goodbye, Mom'? That would remind me so much of my son." Being Neville, he said, "No problem." Checked out her groceries. She's walking out the store. Now she turns back. Neville says, "Goodbye, Mom." And she walks on out the store. Neville put his stuff on the conveyor belt. Checker rang him up. Checker said, "Sir, that'll be $424.17. Neville said, "For a loaf of bread and a half gallon of milk?" The checkout person said, "Your mother said you would pay for her groceries." Neville had a big heart, and sometimes he got the best of it. Adjectives to describe Neville: loving, kind, selfless, humble. And I could stand up here all afternoon and spit out adjectives that describe Neville, but there's one that he told me about his friend Gus. Gave him. Where's Gus? Gus is right here. Neville said, Gus told me, "Neville, you're a strange bird." I said, "Nev, he's 100% right." Those are the adjectives. Now, I've been around Neville 66 years. And Gus, you're 100% right. He's a strange bird. Neville was much more than the big brother to me. He was a mentor, guide, support in every regard, and a teacher. Neville was a significant part of every success and accomplishment in my life. Oh, for the online folks? Okay, thank you. If you're going to say something bad about me like that next time, whisper a little louder. Let me share Neville's family of origin with you. Neville was born to the union of Franklin and Beryl Lawrence. I'm Neville's youngest brother. I have a twin, Odell, If I hold this thing in my hand, I'm so nervous I'm going to shake. So I'll just stay right on it. How about that? I'll just hug up on the mic. Is that for the online purposes? Okay. All right. Odell and I are Neville's younger brothers. I'm the youngest. Then there's Neville. Then there's my sister Jean. She's in here somewhere. Wave your hand, Jean. My sister Jean is back there. Then there's Neville. And then my oldest brother, Sel. Neville was born in Trelawney, Jamaica on January 16, 1959. Neville's a year older than my 29. In 1966, our family migrated to the United States, settling here in Bridgeport. After graduating from Harding High School, and by the way, one of Neville's art teachers from high school is also here today. I thought that was very, very warming. After graduating from Harding High School in 1977, Neville answered a higher calling by joining the U.S. Marine Corps. He served our country with dignity and distinction. When I think about Neville and the path that he and I took, I think about the fact that society often measures a person's intelligence by the diplomas hanging on their wall. Neville had no diplomas on his wall, but while he may not have held a formal college degree, Neville was brilliant. Brilliant. Let me define brilliant. Exceptional intelligence. Exceptional talent. Exceptional performance. The truth is, Neville was sharper than many people I know who have college degrees, including me. He was absolutely brilliant. Now, with his brilliance, he was a very humble individual. And unlike me, he wouldn't brag about all that he was able to do, all of his accomplishments in life. Neville had a rare gift. He could connect with anybody, whether you were young, old, black, white, male, female. Neville could hold deep, meaningful, intelligent conversation with anyone. Physically, Neville was just as impressive. He was a dedicated athlete, an accomplished martial artist, and a disciplined bodybuilder. Neville had it all. I'm the runt of the kids in my family. Neville was a stud. And this isn't Neville talking. This is me and anybody else who was around him. We were in high school, and Neville, for those who went to Harding High School, back in that day, Neville weighed about 220 in Harding High School. Now, high school kids weigh that much today. It's all over the place. But back then, that was very rare for a high school kid to weigh that much. That and black belt level skills in martial arts. He was a bad dude. He's the reason I didn't get beat up in high school. He's the reason I didn't, I see Lee shaking his head. He's the reason I didn't get bullied in high school. I'm a police officer, a retired police officer and a federal probation parole officer, and a trainer. I'm a firearms instructor, defensive tactics instructor. And people say, Riley, you got to be one bad dude. I tell them, I can't fight. I can't fight. When your brother is one of the baddest dudes in the school, you never have to fight. I told Neville, I said, man, you did me a disservice. I never had to fight anybody. I don't know if people even remember my name other than Neville's little brother. He was a stud. Here's the thing that got me the most. I went to high school for one reason. Girls were there. I didn't go for an education. I wasn't that smart. I didn't go for an education, but it backfired on me because the girls would say to me, hi, Rollin, can I touch your brother's muscles? And throughout all of that, Neville was humble. I mean, if I had what he had, are some of his bodybuilding pictures up there? Okay. He was a beast. He was a beast physically, but inside, he was as gentle as a lamb. Never had a fight. And At Harding, there was a fight after school every other day. And if you were a bullied kid in Harding, you loved Neville. Because if anybody was fighting, one was getting the best of the other. Neville was big enough and strong enough, and he did. He'd separate the two combatants and send everybody on their way. In fact, in the process of this, some of you all, I don't know if the ones who told me about it are here, said, man, Neville saved me in high school. I said, he saved me too. Above all, Neville was very kind and unselfish. He was generous to a fault, putting others before himself and giving whatever he had to help someone in need. I've heard the cliche saying that this person will give you the shirt off his back. Neville did that literally. One of his missions in life was to go back to Jamaica, bringing food and clothing and supplies to people in Jamaica. And that's one thing. But Neville would do that and literally give the clothes off his back so that he's coming back to America in a wife beater and shorts. That's it. Giving away everything. That's the way Neville's heart was. Neville had an impactful life. And while we'll miss his conversation, his strength, his warm heart, his legacy will live on in all of us. And I want to personally thank every one of you for the friendship you show my brother. He's told me about many of you. And I want to thank you. I love you for loving my brother. Thank you, Neville, for being a devoted brother, a devoted friend. In the words of Whitney Houston, Neville, I will always love you. Rest in peace, my brother. Now I'd like to open this up so that you can share. If you know Neville, you have a Neville story. And so I invite you to come up one by one to the mic and share whatever is on your heart to share about Neville. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes. To 2 minutes. My cousin's roughing me up here. He said, please keep it short. After we're done, feel free to chit-chat with one another. But come up one by one and share your Neville story. I haven't seen George in I don't know how many years. Good to see you.
Grace and peace to everyone. We childhood friends. We grew up hanging out, Orchid Boys Club. Neville was the man. They used to call him Muscles. And like he said, if you had a fight, he'd break it up and have his hands out there like that with the muscles. And I love muscles. I loved him. We was at the VA hospital all the time. We stopped each other, see each other, talk in the cafeteria. And I found out when I was up there that he passed away. I was like, wow. I said, when is his funeral? I found out today from Colin, from church. And he was a good brother, always smiling, and he'd do anything off his back to help you out. That's the type of brother he was. So I give my love and peace to you, man, and love you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, Neville was like, moved from Minnesota, came to New York, and then fell in love after a visit to Connecticut. And my first friend that I was introduced to was Neville. He would say, "How you doing, Gigi?" And he gave me the biggest, warmest hug and his bright smile. Neville was a friend who if I was walking through a storm, I would want to meet him within that storm because he encouraged me and he made me know that I can do all things through Christ. My last conversation, my fridge just caught on fire. And who did I call was Neville. And in the midst of this conversation, I had no idea that he was sick. But here he was, making arrangements to help me out to get a new one. I've heard the saying that if you ever supposed to surround yourself with friends, it would be your hand, you as the person, and 4 people who could cover you. Neville was one of that friend who I know without a shadow of a doubt would cover me. If I had one request, if when I enter heaven, the person to meet me would be Neville, because he never saw titles or status. He saw human beings, and for that, he is my friend forever, and his memories will always live on with me. So Neville, I love you, as you always know.
My wife scolded me and demanded I come up here and make this correction. On your program, it says August 20th. Obviously, it's not August 20th. Her editor messed it up. So just know that should be today's date instead of this.
Grace and peace to everyone. I go way back to Marina Village um, with Neville, and I hadn't seen him in such a long time until last year. We'd run into each other at Save. So every Tuesday, that was our day. That was senior day. You know, I'd meet him up there. We get our little senior discount and chat for a while. And he was so friendly with everyone there, even the staff. And the last time I saw Neville, we were at Savers, and when we're done shopping, he asked me, you need help or anything? Like, no, I'm good. And I would leave and go to Goodwill. But this particular day, I saw him again, and I rarely run into him a second time. So I said, God has a way to let you know things. And he let me see Neville twice in one day. And what I want to say to you, you said we called Neville a Morris cat because his grin was so infectious. Everywhere he went, that grin and smile, you couldn't help but smile. So he truly will be missed. And me shopping in Savers will never. He was such a good guy. Thank you, and God bless everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Isaac. Neville was my godfather. Uh, a couple things I could say about him is I've never met a man who had so much passion for himself or so much self-confidence. No matter what the situation, when he was big and when he downsized, he was still same personality. I remember one time standing outside with him, it was raining. Like, man, I'm tired of all this rain. He's like, man, I don't care what the weather is. I'm the same all the time. So stuff like that coming from him, I always try to, you just never forget some of the things that Neville would tell you. Neville helped me when I was younger, a teenager in the gym. Anybody who knows how Neville was in the gym know you were dealing with a wild animal. I was always afraid to do squats. So one day, he met up with me and he said, we're going to squat today. Like, all right. I was scared to death, but I ain't let him know it. He probably could tell, but he didn't care. So I remember we did 8 sets of squats in every foot angle he could find. And that's when I found out what training the failure was, because I went down on that last one and he literally had to take the bar off me because I was stuck at the bottom. He said, Isaacy Wacky, that's how we do it, my boy. That's how he used to talk to me. And another thing he had told me, we all know how kind Neville was. But there was another side to him if you pushed it. Because I would tell him, because he was in the martial arts, I did a little bit, and he would teach me certain things with like grappling and stuff of that nature. And he said, I said, where I live at, kids, they like to play around and always trying to wrestle. He said, listen, you don't want to be bothered. Just don't be bothered. But the day you want to be bothered, make sure that they know why they shouldn't have bothered you to begin with. So it's a void. Some people are never to be replaced. And Neville is definitely one of those. So I'm sitting here holding it together with the rest of y'all. And I was glad I was able to share that little bit because Neville meant a lot. And he's going to continue to mean a lot. I love that man from now until when I hit the grave. Appreciate y'all for the time.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Norma. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Norma, Neville's favorite cousin. Say that again. His favorite cousin. And we grew up together as kids back home in Jamaica. But Neville came up before I did. And after I came up and joined with Neville, like on the weekend in the fall time, anytime on the weekend, him and Hodel would come by. Where were you, Rollin? It was always him and Hodel. They would come by, and if it's the fall, we would rake the grass, the leaves together, bags and bags of leaves. And after I would say, okay, teach me to ride the bicycle. I didn't know how to ride a bicycle. I would say, Neville and Odell, I want to learn. And they would put me on the bicycle and hold me up, hold it on both sides, and I'm there pedaling away, pedaling away. And the minute they let go, I'm on the ground. And they would try again and try again. And I never could get it. But they wouldn't give up, but I still never got it. Okay. It came a time when I said, I want to learn how to drive. And Neville was the one teaching me how to drive. So we would go to Seaside Park, and I would knock over every trash can down there. I'm on the lawn, I'm all over the place. He's trying to straighten out the car, and I'm over here with the car. And he said, guess what, Kat? Tomorrow we're coming back. He wouldn't give up. And, he had so much patience with me. I was waiting for him to say, oh, forget it. You'll never get it. But he would say, we're coming back tomorrow. I'm not giving up. And he did. He stayed with me until I got it. And, Neville, he's so patient. And sometimes I'm in the supermarket, in the parking lot, and they will see me. He would just pick me up and flip me around, throw me around. I'm like, be careful, man, you drop me. We had a good relationship. And I haven't seen him in a while, but I would always inquire about him, see how he's doing. And when he got sick at first, some years ago, I called, checked on him and stuff. And then I was so saddened to hear that he got sick again. And unfortunately, we lost him. But, he's a nice guy. I never have a bad thing to say about him. I don't. But, I love you, Neville. Respect. God bless.
Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for all. Thank you for being here today as we remember and celebrate a truly remarkable man, which is Neville, my cousin. When I think about Neville, four words immediately come to my mind: loyal, kind, honest, and completely down to earth. He wasn't someone who cared about flash or pretend. Neville was real. He valued people for who they were, and he gave his true, authentic self to everyone in this group. Because Neville lived in the US and I live in Canada, distance could not make it hard to stay close. But he was always a phone call away. I knew I could call him at any time hear my deepest personal thoughts, and he would listen with his full heart and give best advice. In fact, trying to bridge that border gave us some of my favorite moments. I remember pushing Neville to get into the modern world so we could FaceTime. I told him he needed to download WhatsApp. He asked me, "Cuz, what is WhatsApp?" I couldn't help myself but laugh. You got to get with the real time. That was just who he was, unbothered by the fast moving world, steady and content with the simple real things in life. But because he loved his people, he adapted just so we could stay connected. We could call or FaceTime each other 3 to 4 times a week. The last time I spoke with my cousin was July 15, 2023. I am going to miss those calls and those laughs deeply. We all are going to miss him steadily. We are all going to miss his steady presence and his unwavering loyalty. Though he is no longer a phone call away, his honesty, his humor, and his wisdom will stay with me forever. Rest in peace, cuz you are missed and you are never forgotten.
Hello, everyone. So I just want to set the record straight, for everybody here who's going to be claiming Neville as their best friend. Let me just say this. Neville's best friends were senior citizens, okay? And my mother was one of his best friends, and Quindell's mother, not me, I didn't say me. I said my mother was one of his best friends, is one of his best friends, and I know Quindell's mother was also another one of his best friends. So before anyone else comes up and claims that, I'm just putting it out there, you know what I mean? So, when my mother was sick and she was home, we would see Neville almost at least once a week. He would come by to visit her. He was always there. He would come to the point where one time he hadn't come in a couple of weeks, and when he did come, she was upset with him, and she told him, my mother was blind at the time, she couldn't see, but as soon as she Neville opened his mouth, she knew who it was. And she told him she was upset with him because she felt he was cheating on her. This is my grandson.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? Um, well, Neville, well, technically not my uncle, but I consider him my uncle. When I was younger, I used to see Uncle Neville all the time with my grandpa, and they call each other best friends. My grandpa's nickname for him was Rockman, and I never understood why he called him that. And he used to always tell me, like, as I would see him, they would work together and all type of other different stuff. But he would always say, "You getting strong, Caleb." He never used my name right, like, because my name is Caleb, but he used to always pronounce it so strongly. And he'd be like, "Caleb, how you doing?" I'm like, "What's going on, Uncle Nev? Good to see you. Good to see you." But he used to always, my grandpa always tell me, like, "Yeah, that's the Rock Man. Back in the day, he was strong. He was this, that." I'm like, "Yeah, okay, all right." But as a young person, I always thought I'm pretty strong. And ironically enough, he was a Marine, and I recently enlisted for the Army. So he was training me, and he's been talking about it for months. Kept telling me, let's link up, let's do a workout." So I said, "You know what? All right, let's do it." He brought me to Seaside, man, and in the best way possible, he humbled me. I really didn't know what he had planned, but I showed up confident. I'm like, "Come on, I'm gonna crush this. It's gonna be easy." As soon as I got there, he told me run. I said, "Well, where am I running to?" He just said, "Run." Okay. He took a seat. I started running 1 lap down. Circle back around. What's next? "Keep running, kid." Okay. Just kept going. Another lap down, another lap. Kept going. By the time he allowed me to stop, I tried when I got behind him, I tried to walk, and he would turn around and say, "Keep running." I couldn't hear him, but I knew what he was saying. And from the time that I had with him, that was the last time I saw him. Um, there was a lot of different workouts that we did, and by the time that it all wrapped up, I was burnt out. But we sat there in the park for a little while just talking. You know, he was preparing me and all that, and he told me, listen, no matter what happens at the end of the day, whether you're nervous, whether you're scared, even if you feel like you don't got it now, keep working towards what you want and don't stop. And obviously I said, yeah, okay, but you know, since the last time of seeing him and now I'm still here training, getting ready for my ship out, I just keep thinking about what he told me. And every time I feel like, you know, maybe I take a break today or maybe I slow down now, his words are replaying in my mind to keep going because he didn't stop. So he told me I can't stop. He said, you got to hold your head high, keep pushing. So that's the way to do it. And that's the only way that's going to work for you. So, you know, I just wanted to share that with y'all. That was a great impact that he had on me. And just at such a small time, you know. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sonia, nicknamed Sonia, from the Hyde tribe. I am the favorite cousin. I guess, I guess he tells everyone that, but yeah, he was very special to me, and I was very special to him. Neville and I, we had a special relationship. When he stopped bodybuilding and he wanted to make correction to his diet, as a dietitian, we shared a lot. You know, he would consult with me about certain things that he's doing. And, you know, so we used to talk about that. When we were living in Queens, and he and Quindale would come by, I mean, we have had some fun times. You know, he would have us laughing and rolling. And when I moved to New Jersey, I have another sister that lives in New Jersey. We live like 5 minutes apart, and never will go back and forth between both of our houses. Neville was a very simple person, did not believe in luxury. I put out this hat today. I wore this hat at my mom's funeral because Neville saw me and says, look at you, you're looking so fancy. So I decided to look fancy for him today. Anyway, my sister told me the story. You know, he's going back and forth between our houses. And she says, Neville slept over. And he was here for 3 days. And every time I see him coming out of the laundry room of a sink in there, and I'm wondering, what is he doing in the laundry room? I go, everything. I said, Neville, there's a bathroom over there. He said, it's too fancy. I didn't want to mess it up. But yeah, he was a very kind person, helpful person. When he would come to visit us, he would be doing things. He put up curtain rods. He would, you know, he would not leave anything undone that I need to have done. And he will always have a special place in my heart. Amen.
Oh, yeah. See, my uncle said it. I'm his favorite niece. Trumbolia. Well, my uncle, the way that I remember him, as a little girl in the height of the bodybuilding days. Big. And I remember being around 5 or 6 years old. And every time my uncle would go away, and when he was in a rink, he would come back. And I remember this one time seeing him. He was walking up, and all I saw in my mind was the Incredible Hulk coming. And I screamed, Uncle Neville, you look like the Incredible Hulk. And like this. And I ran with all my might and grabbed his muscle and swung back and forth. I remember that. That was like probably, almost 50 years ago now? But I always remember that. And any time after that I saw him, no matter where I saw him, we would just run into each other on the street just by happenstance. And he would say to me, square up. That's the first thing he would say to me, square up. And we would spar. because he said that I was so little and so cute. But he was never going to hear that anybody put me on my back, right? And every time I saw him, that was the first thing, was square up. And then we had a great talk afterwards. And I just wanted to share that with everyone because whenever life has got you down, because that's how I feel, whenever life had got me down a little bit, and even when he passed and I was feeling a way about it, I heard square up. And when I walked in here today, I heard square up. And the last time that I saw him, I remember him that he really wanted to see my cousin, Neville, and he was like, that would be epic to see you, the two of you square up. It was like, I would love to see that. I would, and I just wanted to leave that with you guys, that my incredible uncle, whenever times are getting bad, hold your head up and square up.
She's the favorite, but let's show how this goes, right? So I'm Jean's other daughter. I'm Paula. Hi, everybody. My favorite Uncle Neville memory is similar to all of us runs and those of us in high school that was small. I remember being 16 and Uncle Neville came by the house and he was like, how's everything going? How's school? And he said, wait. And he said, stand up for a second. He said, you and your sister never gonna grow. And I said, I've been this height. I don't know. So similar to Square Up, he says, I'm gonna teach you 3 defense tactics. I want you to be able to defend yourself. And then he said, better yet, what school are you at? And I said, Hardin. And he laughed and he said, just tell him, send me or your uncle. And it done from there, you know. So for me, I always laugh because I didn't take it very serious until I went to the school one day and I started talking to people. My dad also played for Hardin basketball at another time. And so when I'm telling people, they're like, yeah, you can't be touched because we ain't afraid of your daddy, but your uncle? So he just a lot of strength, a lot of kindness, a lot of loyalty. But in the last week that I saw him a month ago, I whispered something to him and he responded to me in Spanish. He was like, you still remember that? I said, do you remember? Do you remember? I want you to remember kindness. I don't know if there is any other word that describes this person, but the genuine theme of today is loyalty, kindness, and somebody with so much patience. And I think I try to walk through my life all the time with that mindset. And he reminded me of that when I saw him because he just doesn't want to be down. He's like, you know, basically like fix your face. Why you look like that? What's the problem? So I'm just gonna continue to smile for him because that's what he loved. Just keep smiling. All those teeth.
Hi, everyone. I'm Claire, and I'm not big on public speaking, so I brought my BFF. So, my Neville story is at the age of 44. I don't know what got into me, but I wanted a personal thing. And boy, did I get one. Neville took me down to Seaside Park with a 25-pound backpack running in the sand. He had me running up and down to the 12th floor 12 times, nonstop. And every time we had to do like squat, I would say, I can't do it, Neville. He said, come on, my girl, you can do that. you got this. And he would push, and push. When I tell you at that age, I was at my fittest. I was, well. So that's my best Neville story. He was an encourager, and he would push you to the max. And he did that. And I will miss him a lot.
Better? There's not much that I can say. Seems like nobody liked him. Everybody does. So he always he imparted a smile. That's what it was. It was a smile. A sister had wrote some because everything that has to be said, I think that said it already. So just gonna sum it up with she said, wanted to send a few thoughts from my heart to you. Whenever I think of you, the first thing that comes to mind is your smile. It truly lights up any room you walk into. You have this deep generational wisdom, the kind of wisdom that makes you the exact person everybody wants to talk to whenever they need comfort, guidance, or steady presence. My brother, you are like someone walking through the world with a bag full of gems, handing them out, touching the lives of everyone you meet. I believe that everyone who has come into contact with you has been incredibly blessed. Please know how deeply loved you are, how much you are in our hearts and prayers, and how incredibly grateful I am to have been touched in my life. This isn't a goodbye because spirits like yours are woven into anyone who, no matter what tomorrow brings, will always remain the pillars of joy in our lives. And your smile will forever be in our hearts. Rest in power, Neville.
Roland, you're right. You have met very stand in front of everybody and speak. I met Neville when I was 30, about 18 years ago. He, one thing that important said, was always very positive, always being smiling. Unfortunately, some of those pictures, I the smile. It's for a positive room that match. At the age of 30, I probably wasn't aware of things that I should, pointed out how it was much difficult for a guy that Mike did to make it. It's hard to talk about versus somebody like me. Anybody could born the same way, but it's very different, and you need to appreciate what other people are going through every day. And what people go through every day. And I'm grateful to that. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I saw Neville I was at the VA taking a friend, and I'm walking, minding my business, and all of a sudden I hear say, "Hey, Harold." I look around, and then when he smiled, because he was sitting in a corner, it was a little kind of dark in that corner, but when those teeth came out, I said, "Neville, where you been?" Because I hadn't seen him probably in about, 5 or 10 years. But the one thing that happened is I said, let me make sure I've got your number. So he punched his number into my phone, and that's how y'all found me. And I'm so glad that happened too, because I said, Neville, you know how many new phones I've had since I saw you? They made a lot of money off of me. But I saw something today that I never knew, I never saw in Neville. I saw 2 pictures where he wasn't smiling. And I was saying, holy mackerel, he doesn't smile sometimes. But Neville, the thing that happened up at my house, I had a car that rolled back a little down the hill. It's a little hill there. And it almost hit the neighbor's house. It stopped just in time. So I'm trying to think of who am I going to call? Tow truck here, tow truck. Nobody was available for hours. And the lady was saying, oh, you're going to hit my house. Who do I call? The Neville brother. I called Neville, and he came out, and he hooked the chain to the car. Then he's concerned about whether he can drive it without running on the grass. I said, Neville, that's the last thing on my mind is you running on the grass. I said, that'll be cut tomorrow. Don't worry about it. But he was the type of person that no matter what, just
like everybody has said so far, Neville was the man. Always, always pleasant, no matter what the circumstances. And that day at the VA, I said to him, and he said to me, he says, Lee is here. He said, let's you, me, and Lee get together. I said, yeah, we can get lunch or dinner, whatever you want to do in a couple of weeks. And unfortunately, a couple of weeks later, I get the text. It's almost like they never postponed something that you could have done right then. You know, and that's I have to say is never live on, brother, live on.
Thank you all very, very much for your presence here today. I can't express in words how much it means to me and my family. And again, for me, you know, Neville and I were the closest two on the planet. And it just touches my heart. The sentiments that you all have expressed to me, I've shared tears with many of you. And I just want you to know that I love every one of you for loving my brother Neville. I'm going to have Pastor Leon come up here in just a minute, but this will wrap up our ceremony. As you leave, there will be some, what do we call them? They're not gift bags, they're goodie bags, thank you. Goodie bags, so be sure and grab one on the way out. Come on.
We could have been here for a long time, hearing all the good stories about this brother. But everything comes to an end sooner or later. And we appreciate you being here. We pray that the memory of Neville will live on in each of us. And when you remember him, whatever circumstance you are in, it will be a good thing. Don't pray for him. If you had to pray for him, you had to do it before today. But pray for his family, pray for his siblings, all those connected to him, that the Lord is going to keep us, that we'll be able to face another day. And each day that we face, that we will remember Neville and try to portray some aspect of life that reflects him and something that others could, their life could be better life by getting to know. So, to everyone, let's remember Neville. He might be dead, but the memory of him could live on in each of us. God bless you. We had this evening. And, you know, I was told that something, I wouldn't tell you what I was told, but I was told something, but yeah, I think was a good thought. His friends, his family will be at the church, and it will be good for all that the church has done for the family today, for a contribution to be made. If you didn't make it, his family will have to make it. So he said, look, I ask everybody to contribute towards this. Didn't tell me this part, but the family will have to make it. So that's the really ultimate. So each one should make a contribution to stay here today. God bless you as we continue. As you leave, there'll be two ushers standing at the front, and you could whatever contribution you'll make, they will be happy to receive. So the ushers will stand at the door in the front as God be praised.